Hello and welcome to the Aid Station. I'm Chris Robb, and today really excited to reconnect with Mel Berry, who is the co-founder of Her Spirit. We're connecting in Nottingham, UK, and it's been probably nearly a year since we last connected, so really fantastic to catch up with you again. Thanks for making the time, Mel.
Oh no, it's a pleasure, Rob. I was kind of laughing back to, a year ago. I was sat in a BMW kind of car showroom, huddled in someone's kind of office. That was the time where we used to be able to, physically kind of see each other. But it's great to, and thank you for, the opportunity to be part of this.
No, wonderful to catch up, and you've been doing some amazing work with Her Spirit, and making a huge impact on women's lives and obviously the community as an extension of that. I'd love to hear a little bit, and I'm sure the viewers would, a little bit about your background and your story, please.
Yeah, look, my background is someone that's always been active. I was an expat kid, so I was very fortunate to, have the water as my friend from an early start. From a business point of view, is I migrated from the leisure industry into onto brand side, and I guess cut my teeth in the early years in Dubai, working for the distributor for Reebok and Speedo, and then progression of career took me to Nottingham, and where I haven't kind of left, and that was as the international sports marketing manager for Speedo. And the continuum of that was, I guess, the passion and the entrepreneurial desire to want to do something for myself. And since 2001, my business offer has been small agencies that have worked with events, national governing bodies, and athletes to the latter last 2 years of founding Her Spirit with Holly Woodford.
Fantastic, and looking forward to hearing more about that story as we progress through the chat. But I'd love to get a little bit of context. It looks like positive times in the UK. We've seen pictures of, not sure whether it's positive or might be a problem that comes back to bite, but streets crammed with pubs reopened, things starting to unfold again. There's been, we've been seeing the images of massive growth in people running and cycling, which I think is only good for the sport. But what's the last few months been like for you, Mel?
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of months for us has been hugely positive because we had a digital and physical product. And when COVID, came to our door, we were actually in Mallorca when that happened, and Spain locked down before the UK did. And our proposition was around events being at the heart, and my passion for mass participation events and why we connected kind of early. And that was then going, right, okay, the business model is now completely flawed because those mass participation events won't happen anymore. So for us, it was then saying, right, well, how do we continue to live and thrive? And it was then saying, well, our digital proposition is a necessity for every woman. We were able to unlock our funding and repurpose our funding from Sport England to do two things, which was to say, hey, we now have daily sessions that were around strength, mobility, indoor cycling, and you can do them at home. So you don't have to worry about not being able to kind of be active outside. So that was very much at the embryonic stage of stay in completely. And it was then looking at professionals within the trade. So Michelle Charland, who's our cycling lead, who's a British cycling level 2, she could continue to inspire many people around the UK. And what we saw is a significant increase. So our business has increased by 300%. And we then have kept the mass participation people. And as you know, is community is at the heart of everything that we do. So women had the opportunity to be supported through our 3 pillars of mind, body, and fuel. And that body piece is keeping people kind of active that might have been doing London Triathlon or might have been doing kind of Leeds and a plethora of others. So it's been challenging, don't get me wrong, but I think now is the time where our non-execs says never waste a pandemic, and we haven't wasted a pandemic to seize the opportunity, and we believe enhance our business proposition significantly.
Fantastic. And maybe just talk a little bit about that. I mean, you were talking before we started recording about the program of Your Best Year Yet, I think, if I've got the title right.
You have, yeah. So what we have done is we've then said, well, now is the time, because I guess the new norm is going to be that you can go out, you can be active. And we've always been able to do that. Boris Johnson was very clear from the outset. But the world has turned on its head and saying, right, use the opportunity to say, I've got a bit more time. I've been able to reflect in terms of what is important to me. And we know that, being active is paramount. So at the end of this month, we will launch our campaign called Your Best Year Yet. And I guess the essence of it is about so it's personal. So it's around what do you want to achieve over the next 12 months. And it's around, being supported. We still believe and hope that mass participation events will be an opportunity for, women to, come and do that. And yeah, more people are cycling. So we partnered with a campaign called Bike is Best, because again, it's important to say, well, I want to ride my bike, but we become a product solution. So in that space, it's around confidence. It's a presumption that people are just going to get out and ride their bike. So we have a product called Bike for Confidence. We have a running proposition called Run Better Together. So you have the support to enable, you to realize your best year yet.
Fantastic. And so fundamentally, for those that don't know, Her Spirit is about taking and supporting women on this journey of many of them, if I've got it right, being beginners and bringing them into the sport, and some of them not necessarily beginners, but the culmination of it is participating in London Tri or a cycling event or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the way that articulates it, so Her Spirit is personalized coaching for your mind, body, and fuel. And as we, talked about pre this call, they're intrinsically linked. So the first point around mine is around resilience. So, how do you create your resilience toolbox? Body, find what's right for you, and fuel is around demystifying a lot of the clutter that's out there in terms of nutrition, and you stick it together. And yeah, we've got a lot of people that are new to being active. We've got a lot of people that are lapsed, and they've now seen that there is the opportunity to do something, and they have a community that support, all the way through to, the top end of that pyramid, which is, the ATAP. So, myself and Holly and a few others are, still aiming to do that, because you can be your best year yet by being an ATAP finisher or a 5K finisher. And we know that the whole female piece is, it's a collective power. And a lot of people call, we have a superpower, Rob, and you're embracing it, and you can be our honorary superpower person for today.
Wonderful. That sounds amazing. And we were talking as well about the power of the woman at the core of maybe a family unit, and you shared a wonderful story of a woman who participated in London Tri and brought her husband and I think it was son along, and they were saying, this is incredible, I want to be part of it, which again is the power of what these mass participation events create.
Yeah, I mean, we worked really closely with Limelight last year on London Tri to understand, can you digitize mass participation and do it all encompassing? And it's yes. So it was simple. Is Jess Lane is the woman that we talked about. So we took Jess and 30 other women along a journey to do a super sprint in London, and they became more confident, which meant that unlocked their capability. So Jess is somebody that really struggled from a swimming point of view. And yeah, she brought her husband, who she'd been to numerous kind of running events with, who hadn't really got excited, and her two kids. And she's got her son is quite severely autistic. And they all went away buzzing, because what they'd seen is a woman that had been strong, that had been kind of vulnerable, and her kids were inspired by the mum, and the husband was inspired by the wife to then go, what's this crazy multi-sport event? I'd love to be part of it. So you've now got a family unit, and Jess has continued to to do that kind of during lockdown. And that's the beauty of togetherness. And we say in a succinct way, together we've got this, because if you've got that coaching support and you've got that people support, blend them together, it's a real strong force for change.
Wonderful. And you spoke earlier when you were talking about the last few months that there's been lots of challenges. What have been some of the biggest challenges that you've overcome?
Yeah, I mean, our challenges from a business point of view are ones that I just talked about earlier, in the sense that our business model was around subscriptions linked into mass participation events. And then, within 48 hours, that's gone, that's changed. So the challenge was that. The challenge was then repurposing what the proposition would be. And for us, we were fortunate to unlock some of our funding from an organization called Sport England, and fair play to them. They embraced it straight away. And it's then, how do you digitize content? I don't know how it was in Asia, but in the UK, every mother and their dog, then said, free content, free content. But what we believed, we had purpose, in terms that we had that kind of shared community piece that then supported that. And how do you storytell? So the challenge is, how do you digitally storytell the Jess Lanes of this world through to numerous others that then became empowering. And we were very lucky through that challenge to have the wonderful Louise Minchin, who's BBC Breakfast presenter, that has anchored our podcast series with the wonderful Annie Emerson, to know that the power of audio is so strong. So we brought that to life. And the challenge piece is, that used to be done in a nice studio. Well, we do it now on a Zoom call, and it's supported by audio through kind of voice notes, to have a really strong and empowering podcast series that is now just shy of 50,000 kind of downloads. But the so what factor is us. So it's not a piece that just sits in isolation. So with the challenge, ultimately, Rob, knitting it all together, and on a very short and small purse string, which, I'm sure you know very well within our worlds that we live in.
Yeah, no, totally understand. That sounds amazing. And in amongst that, you mentioned a number of leaders. You're clearly a leader in terms of, what you do in the industry, in terms of thought leadership. What are some of, if you're giving anyone that's listening tips in terms of leadership, some principles that you apply, maybe someone that you've followed as a leader who's helped you, Mel?
Yeah, I mean, from a leadership point of view, I mean, there's one person that has been someone that supported me in terms of my leadership development, and he's a guy called Ian Philby, and he's one of two of our non-exec directors. So Ian's background, he was the trading director at Boots, and he carried on to be the chief exec of DFS and a multitude of other, big retailers. And what Ian taught me in terms of kind of leadership was openness, and you need to embrace the opportunities that are there, to know that it's about listening. Is far too often we talk at people, we don't listen to what people have to say, and then it's extracting that knowledge and then applying it in the way that we do. And leadership, Rob, comes in so many different guises. We talk too often about the iconic leader, but we don't talk about the layperson. And we've got a plethora of people that I have, really leaned to in terms of kind of leadership, because they've overcome adversities that wouldn't, have been brought to life by someone like Ian. So it's a real strong and great blend that I believe in from a leadership point of view.
Yeah, some wonderful insights. Couldn't agree with you more. There's leaderships at every level in our community, and and so often they get overlooked for these iconic leaders. So yeah, some great insights. Thank you. As always, love to finish on an inspirational note. I'm sure you've got many inspiring stories to share. Is there maybe one that stands out that you'd like to share today, please, Mel?
Yeah, I'm going to share. It's a woman called Marie Moss, and she's one of our community members. So we call them her spiriters, because, it's the spirit within, and it's the relatability back to the Maya Angelou quote. So, Marie's in her early 50s. Before she found us, she was really struggling emotionally and physically. And she has turned her attitude around. We know that until anybody, and this is both genders, until you're truly open to diarising or journaling to put yourself at the heart of solving your own problem, is you will never succeed. And Marie did that. And, she turned her life around, and she's a great success story of us as a business proposition because of COVID. And every day she inspires me because, she's somebody that you wouldn't look at as being a leader or an inspirer. And, she's turned it on its head. And I guess back to that inspiration, the business was formed on a quote by Maya Angelou about a woman, flowing freely to follow and find her spirit, and only her spirit. So, but Marie's one, Jess Lane as a woman is the same. Autistic son, that's a big. I'm really, really fortunate that I have the ability to be inspired by people like Ian and other people that sit on our advisory board, all the way through to the Maries and the Jess. So never stop looking, never stop listening, never stop kind of learning, because you never know, who you'll be inspired by in the next day, hour, or week.
Wonderful, wonderful way to close. And we're so fortunate to be in this industry where we are just absolutely surrounded by inspiration. Mel, wonderful to catch up. Let's not leave it a year this time. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. And thank you so much for making the time. Look forward to the best year yet for you and your team.
Yeah, no, thanks, Rob. And look, just to close, for us as a business proposition, if you feel inspired by her spirit, the problem that we're trying to solve is a global one. And it's around, in the UK, 7% decline in participation of women. So look, help us on a journey to make that change. Simple: sign up, download the app, or connect with you, and let's solve that problem together from a female point of view. And thanks for your opportunity.
Sounds great. Take care. Thanks so much, Mel.
Okay.